made it. Finished chapter, 24? Guys, I feel wrung out, like emotionally just like raw from reading that. And you always are at the end of a series, but man. Last night, I tell you how I read this. So I knew I was coming to the end. I didn't look ahead, so I didn't know it was all one chapter, but I knew that we didn't have much left. Whew, man, you guys can tell I'm exhausted. So I read basically until I could not keep my eyes open, fell asleep, and then I randomly got up at like 4 a.m, like super like hyped. You know, sometimes that happens. Normally I just try to go back to bed, but I was like, well, I have enough energy. Maybe I can read more of this. So I snuck out to the family room, read some more until again my eyes just like would not stay open. Went to sleep again, then got up this morning and immediately grabbed my book and read it. So I haven't finished it, just so you all know. I just made it to the first epilogue. That's where I stopped. One of my commenters recommended that I do the epilogue separately because there's a lot of good stuff in there. So I'll take that to heart as I read the epilogues today, but whew, man, right now I'm just exhausted. So the spire and all of that happened there, incredibly epic. And then we do have this last stand of the Bone Hunters. And again, I went back and I was going to take notes and like go through it like I've gone through the other stuff, and I'm just like too tired for that, to be honest. Like truly, it's emotionally worn me out because it's so good. So the Bone Hunters make their final stand. The regular militia is trying to delay. The main group of the Forkle assails army, and then the bridge burners are going to the altar to defend it against, I think it's the heavies. No, it's the non-heavies that of the Forkle assail that make it ahead and are trying to go for the Crippled God. Crippled God, we learned, so the whole plan is kind of coming together slowly, and to be honest, I don't think I realized the whole aspect of the plan. I feel a lot like at the end of Toll the Hounds with the whole Hood and Dragnapur, Anomander Rake storyline. I knew like general structure of what was happening, but I had to like really think about it and read some other articles to get everything like clarified and solidified what was happening there. I still appreciated it in the moment, but I had to think about it more. I feel the same with this, but I haven't done any of the research yet. So I have a vague idea of what was done. Obviously, they took the heart, which was probably the seat of the Fallen One's power. Crone and the Great Ravens, who had feasted on the flesh of the fallen god. We find out that was done so that they could preserve some part of his body, and so they are able to form that body in which they put the heart, and that brings the Crippled God into like a physical form, which both makes him incredibly vulnerable, that he can be killed and now really used by the Forkle assail, but also allows the possibility that he can escape from his chains and leave the world. Yeah, so there's just these two major battles going. I don't know how much to say because so much of this is heartfelt, like loss as some of our favorites get killed. Some of it is amazing sorcery and heroism that happens, the last minute. I love that the parents, Ganos, and I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about. I'm not going to try to be linear because I'm really struggling trying to be linear talking about this whole thing. I love the reunion of the parents. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was nervous that it was going to be a Felicin situation where like she kills Ganos right there, like she killed Felicin. They are reunited in this really glorious moment where Tavor finally breaks down. I love that. I think that's so powerful. Interesting move that she might be Emperor Kalimved's child. I mean, I know that could be figurative, like she's a child of the Emperor, but it could also be real. We don't really know, I think, what that Talon means. I think it'd be really interesting if her and Perrin Ganos were actual sons of Kalimved, but I don't know if that's confirmed. We'll see. Maybe that's in another book, the Path to Ascendancy books. But, ooh, man. And then the bridge burners, Hedge and Fiddler, finally like coming together and forgiving themselves and leading the bridge burners to hold this area long enough for basically Kalam and Quickben to come and finish it. There's a lot of eucatastrophe, which is unexpected in an Erickson book. So eucatastrophe, like J.R.R. Tolkien coined this term of like just when everything seems lost, something happens that turns it into good. The end of Lord of the Rings is an example of that. I was not expecting that from the Crippled God. and the Malazan Book as a whole, and Steve Erickson, but I appreciate it. He rewards us for reading through this, but it's not a completely happy ending because most everyone dies. But there is sort of that, you think it's all lost, and then Quickben shows up. You think it's all lost, and the host appears, which I appreciate, rewarding us for the darkness that we have endured up to this point. Of course, beautiful endings like Tool, that's not in this chapter, but I think that's one of the highlights. Love that Talk gets that moment of where he is a bridge burner and he finally made it, and he's now with them in the afterlife. The sad, morose moment of Whiskey Jack wishing to talk to Corlott, but he can't. There's just so much in this chapter. I don't know if I can fully, like, again, I want to get on this as soon as possible because I want to read the epilogues, but also I think it's best to, like, get out my emotions as raw as they can, especially on this final chapter, because the Otaratul dragon is able to burst the chains. They have to have the Korobas come close enough to break the chains, but not to kill the bridge burners because we want them to survive. So Durek basically defends the bridge burners against the Otaratul dragon's effects long enough for Heboric, for his Hand of Jade and Hand of Otaratul to be able to prison the Korobas, the Otaratul dragon, and the power of the chained god is used, or the crippled god is used to rechain the Otaratul dragon, so Tiam doesn't come and destroy the world, and also that sorcery might continue to exist, and that is the combined power of the crippled god, but also Kerul and Mael. Their sort of powers combined brings forth this new prison for the Korobas that allows her to survive, but also allows magic to survive and Tiam to not be called upon. And the crippled god ascends to his followers in the sky and leaves, but just before he does, Cotillion stabs him literally in the back. I don't really know what the stab was about. I guess that is so that the crippled god can't destroy all of life. I'll have to think about that and read a little bit more about it. But then I should say, way back when we have this beautiful moment, the crippled god is the one who writes this Book of the Fallen. And so the whole idea is that he is the one who is chronicling the lives of the bridge burners and the bone hunters, and their unwitnessedness is witnessed by this god and reminding him about the goodness in humanity. Whew. That's all I'm going to say for now. I still have 2 epilogues to talk about this with, and then of course my reviews of Crippled God, so I got to save some stuff for that, and I'll process a lot more since then, but I wanted to get you guys kind of the rawness after finishing this chapter. I'm just left utterly spellbound by this masterpiece. I'm just going to leave this here with a tip of the cap to Steven Erickson, truly my favorite fantasy author, my favorite fantasy series. Ended off brilliantly. Thank you for writing this. First in, last out.